So President Obama weighed in on the state of the 2016 Democratic primary, and he made some interesting comments. I'm being kind by saying just interesting here. So he said, quote, "The thing Democrats have to guard against is going in the direction that the Republicans are much further along on, and that is this sense, we're just going to get our way, and if we don't, then we'll cannibalize our own, kick them out and try again." In that scenario, Democrats could stake out positions so extreme they alienate the broad public. I don't see that being where the Democrats go, but it's always something we have to pay attention to. If you don't get everything you want, it's not always because the person you elected sold you out. It may just be because in our system, you end up taking half loaves. And then he literally went on to say, Democrats must avoid the Tea Party mentality. No times a trillion. This is false equivalence 101. You know what the difference is between a right-wing Tea Party and a left-wing Tea Party? A left-wing Tea Party would be correct. See, in the U.S., the Overton window has shifted so far to the right that there's very little real left in America. So a guy like Bernie Sanders, internationally, he's a centrist. Go talk to somebody from Denmark or Sweden or Norway. They're like, that dude is damn near conservative. I'm not kidding about this. So if he's the far left, then the far left in America is really internationally moderate, an international centrist. But Obama's like, oh, come on. The extremes are the problem. The far right's the problem, but also the far left's the problem. I mean, look at his comments here. This is so telling about President Obama. He says, Democrats could stake out positions so extreme they alienate the broad public. Okay, name one policy, President Obama, that you think is too extreme that Democrats are for that would alienate the broader public. Please tell me. Now, don't get me wrong. Is there a problem on the far left in some places? Sure, I've argued on college campuses, for example, where it crosses over into authoritarian leftism. Some people call it as a pejorative SJW, social justice warriors, where they say, trigger warnings and safe spaces, and we're going to fire you if you say something that we don't like. Okay, yeah, I'm against all that. But what we're talking about here is politicians. Remember that. So we're talking about elected officials, and he specifically says policy positions. So what conceivable Democratic position is so far left that you're going to alienate the broader public, President Obama? Okay, that doesn't exist. That doesn't exist. The far left positions in the U.S. from the Democratic politicians, from people like Elizabeth Warren or Alan Grayson or Bernie Sanders, there's stuff like universal health care, Medicare for all. It's stuff like universal college. It's stuff like breaking up the big banks. All stuff that makes sense. All stuff that most other modern nations already have. And you're doing a full false equivalence, and you're saying, I mean, come on, we don't want to get too extreme or else people will disagree with us. But if you look at the opinion polls, the American people overwhelmingly favor progressive priorities. Again, don't take my word for it. You go look at the opinion polls. On raising the minimum wage, over 80% of the American people are in favor of that. Well, there's your far left idea in America. Raising the minimum wage, Medicare for all, 51% of the American people want that one. You name the issue, I'll tell you the numbers. The American people say 60% say never cut Social Security, never cut Medicare under any circumstance. 58% say raise taxes on the rich. We want gay marriage. We want to legalize marijuana. There is no far left in America. I mean, this guy, a Democratic president's like, tisk, far left. You don't want to alienate the public. No, you know who's alienating the public who's supposedly on the left? You, Hillary Clinton, by taking all that Wall Street money and doing their bidding. And then he literally goes on to say, in our system, you end up taking half loaves. So this is President Obama just admitting it at this point. Like, hey, Democratic base, progressives, liberals, shut up and take your half loaf. Excuse us? Shut up and take your half loaf. What? I did a little bit for you. Shut the fuck up now. Okay, but our positions, yet again, are the positions that virtually every other modern nation already has. So a full loaf just gets us in the game of being a modern nation again. And what you're saying is, no. Sit down, be quiet, take your half loaf. So Obamacare, which was originally a right-wing policy, it was Richard Nixon's policy, it was Mitt Romney's policy. The Heritage Foundation wrote policy papers about this. That's a right-wing think tank where they said, this is our position. Chuck Grassley and Newt Gingrich, these are people who supported that. So you do a right-wing healthcare reform plan, and then you look at Democrats, you're like, shut the fuck up, that's as far as we're going. No, that's as far as you're going, which is why you don't have the entire Democratic base supporting you. Because you've let us down. Because on issue after issue, you either caved to the Republicans or you never really agreed with the Democratic base to begin with. Well, now we have somebody in Bernie Sanders who says, I'm actually not going to cave to the Republicans, and I agree with the Democratic base. I'm going to fight for these things. Whereas Obama and Hillary Clinton, they don't fight for these things. And then he actually said, you heard it, hey, just because I couldn't get all the things that the liberals want doesn't mean I sold you out. And this is also in reference to Hillary Clinton. Hey, just because they're not pure enough doesn't mean they sold you out. Well, in your guys' cases, yes, it does. And again, maybe your actual opinions fall on this place on the spectrum too, and you really are center-right and pro-corporatist and pro-establishment. That's fair, and that may be true. But it's also the case that, look at that! It just so happens to coincide with the fact that you got a tremendous amount of money from Wall Street donors and you didn't sufficiently crack down on them and you didn't sufficiently do the bidding of the American people and your progressive base who got you in office. So spare me. You know why people in the Democratic base, liberals and progressives, say about Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, hey, you guys sold out? We say it because you sold out. Like, what do you think? What do you think? We fucking want to dislike a Democratic president? Like we all sat around and made it up. Hey, I got an idea. Let's just say they sold out. But come on, there's no evidence of that. Just say it anyway. No, we look at who your fucking donors are. Stop insulting our intelligence, goddammit. It's so disrespectful. We see the money, and then we see the policies you push for. So you can't get away with this anymore. We have the internet now. We have widespread information. We can look things up. So we know who your donors are. We know how that affects your positions. And this is a case of thou doth protest too much. He said, what do you mean? If you don't get everything you want, it's not always because the person you elected sold you out. Well, it may be that, your genuine position is center-right anyway. I'm sure that's true as well. But does the money factor into it? You bet your fucking ass it does. And stop pretending it doesn't.